Good morning, everybody. Thank you all for taking the time to join today's webinar. I'm Ali Thiam, the editor of Power Retail, and I will be your moderator today. It's lovely to have everybody here. We have a lot to get through today, so before I jump in, I would like to get through a quick bit of housekeeping first. We encourage everybody to ask questions throughout the webinar, so if you do have any burning questions or anything like that, I recommend that you put them in the questions tab, which is located on the right-hand side of your screen, and we will do our best to answer them at the end of the webinar. Today, we are joined by three-star panelists: Michael Tutek, the CEO and co-founder of Preezie, Rod Williams, the general manager of Baby Bunting, and Laura Doonan, the digital consultant of Moustache Republic. So thank you guys for being here. Now, I know that I've spoken for just a little second, but I would like to throw it over to our speakers who will introduce themselves a little bit further. So, Michael, start with you. Let's tell the audience a little bit about yourself.
Hi everyone. Firstly, thanks for attending. So my name is Michael Tutek. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Preezie.
Fantastic. And Laura, please tell everyone a little bit about yourself as well.
Hi everyone, I'm Laura. I am Scottish, not Irish, just to let you know. I do some consulting to brands and retailers, and I'm also partner of a digital agency called Moustache Republic.
Fantastic. And Rod, over to you as well.
Thanks, Ali. Rod Williams here. I'm the General Manager of Digital at Baby Bunting. We're Australia's #1 specialty baby goods retailer, and I'm responsible for our digital channels, supporting not only online transactions, but our in-store experiences.
Fantastic. That's lovely to meet all of you guys. So, the in-store experience is often hailed as the benchmark for retailers when it comes to making customers happy and enjoying the whole span of the shopping journey. But as e-commerce continues to accelerate, it's no longer enough just to have an all right online store. Retailers should want to match the in-store experience to their online counterparts. But how do they do it? Today's webinar will aim to explore the options and discuss the best practices. So without further ado, let's just dive right in. What do you think the best challenge/opportunity is for an omni-channel retailer? Rod, I'm going to pass this question to you to start with.
Thanks, Ali. Look, I think the reality for me is there are countless choices for customers now shopping online. And online, unlike our in-store experience, there is no physical time or distance barrier to customers switching stores within seconds or within a few clicks. So for me, as I look at the challenge, it's about how retailers build their omni-channel value proposition to make sure that we're building more than a product and a price, of which there's choices abound online, and really making sure that we meet the needs of our online shoppers to build loyalty, differentiate our experience and offer from competitors. And really, I think for an omni-channel retailer, how do you make sure that cross-channel experience is really tightly integrated and personalized for your shoppers every step of the way?
Fantastic. And Laura, I'm going to ask you the same question. So what is the biggest challenge/opportunity for an omni-channel retailer?
I'll probably start with the opportunities. I'm seeing endless aisle being a really big one for omni-channel retailers that they're actively trying to solve right now. And it's a hard one because we've right now got, we've got COVID affecting supply chain as well. So there's some problems to it, but endless aisle is a big opportunity I see for clients. And especially with the evolution of things like AR, and how they do that in a creative way. I'm hearing a lot of things that we've known about for a long time, like kiosks or, shopping screens, digital shopping screens. And I feel before COVID, they were a thing that we spoke about and they were almost gimmick-like. And these technologies have now become really fundamental to omni-channel retailers. So I think that's a great opportunity. I'm really loving seeing the opportunity around integrating teams. So the likes of a Baby Bunting, big, physical retailers. We've had a big problem with talent in the tech and e-commerce space, and the teams have always been viewed really separate. And what's now happening is they're having to come together, which is super cool. So I'm starting to see people, like one of our clients, Aquila, is now creating these hybrid teams. So the in-store are becoming more digital, and the digital teams are becoming more in-store. So that's a really great and exciting opportunity from talent, from synergizing online and offline. One of the things, I guess, to touch on the challenge, the biggest challenge I see is around the data piece. And it's really unifying the customers and loyalty and creating that, you know, we talk about single view of customer. So that is a really big challenge that I see being almost number one, and the problem that I'm seeing omnichannel retailers looking to solve.
Absolutely. There's a lot that you know can be done, and there's a lot that needs to be figured out. So hopefully we can discuss some of these challenges and how we can solve them today. So thank you so much for your answer. So Rod, I'm going to go back to you as well now. Does e-commerce CX measure up to in-store CX? And if so, how?
Thanks, Ali. Look, I don't think there'd be one online retailer out there that would say answer confidently yes to that question today. I think, you know, it's a gap in experience that everyone has recognised, and you know, it's fair to say, particularly after the last 2 years, we're all working very, very hard to bridge that gap. When I look at it, you know, in store, you know, we've built decades of fantastic in-store experiences, largely people powered. And then online is a much newer, you know, offer for all of us. It's fast evolving, but you know, we effectively need to rethink how those in-store experiences and service is transitioned to the online channel when, you know, it's no longer people powered, and it's powered by, you know, digital experiences. I think about firstly, how do you understand your in-store experience and those key moments? What makes your in-store experience so good? You know, what delights customers? What converts? And you've really got to start by understanding that in-store experience. And you can never spend enough time, you know, looking at that and understanding what's making it work and listening to your customers. I think once you understand that, then you need to take a step back, and the instinct is to then jump online and go and do the same thing online. But I think, you know, rather than trying to create parity or like for like experiences, I'd really encourage everyone to, if you've done that research in store, if you understand your shopper, understand their need, and then start to look at online and understand how can you meet that need, and essentially create experiential parity, but it might not always be like for like. Some examples I'll talk through. I think online we're all excited by, you know, online conversions and seeing, you know, online sales certainly get a healthy boost in the last 2 years. But for omni-channel retailers, online plays a role far greater than conversion. Here at Baby Bunting, we know that so many of our customers are using our online channel to really, as a search and a discovery tool and platform, well before they step into store for the first time, so they can be prepared. So for us, it's not just about the conversion, it's how do we make sure that we're helping best inform, educate, and inspire customers before they step in store. And you know, our use of Preezie across our key categories and thinking about prams is a great way that we've been able to take customers on a little bit of that journey before they step into store. It's a pretty overwhelming experience. If anyone listening remembers their first time stepping into Baby Bunting, I remember mine very well, that you come in store and you feel a little out of your depth. And so, you know, by using online, we can start to bridge actually the experience gap from online to in-store. And the last point I'll make is, I think increasingly we're thinking about online, not just about an out-of-store experience and how we're supporting the shopper or the unseen shopper. More and more, how does your online and digital channel play a role in store? And given just about every one of our customers is now connected from, you know, before and the moment they walk into your store, and you'll see those devices out in the store environment, how can online start to enrich that store experience as well, and do things and enrich that people-powered experience I started talking about, and really take it to the next level in a personalized way?
Amazing stuff. That's so much that you've covered. So thank you very much. And I don't have any children yet, but I'm waiting for the moment when I step into Baby Bunting and feel overwhelmed. So yeah, maybe I'll go online first.
We'll soften that for you, I promise.
Fantastic. And Michael, I'm going to throw the same question over to you. So does e-commerce CX measure up to in-store CX? And if so, how?
So I'll start off with echoing what Rod said. I think, there'll be very few, or be surprised if any retailer on the face of the planet actually said, yeah, like my online is better or as good as my in-store. But I think something that I find interesting is, a lot of people may not actually see that it can measure up or can get very, very close to. So there's an element where, even just looking at like why we do what we do, in-store converts at 30 or 40%, 100 people walk in, 30 or 40 walk out with a product. And ultimately, if you just think of it, from like, I guess, a first principles point of view, I think Laura mentioned something and Rod mentioned something I found really interesting, was about, Laura mentioned about these hybrid teams. So if you look at it and you look at a lot of these, kind of the history of e-commerce, a lot of the times when e-commerce started, it was marketers because they worked in head office, and it made a lot of sense for marketers to kind of take on e-commerce, which is great. You always need traffic to a site. But what was interesting is the people, say the store managers who ran like merchandise, who ran customer experience, because they were like naturally in the stores, they had very little say in head office. So all of a sudden you started to get this interesting dynamic where websites were driven by obviously marketing and solely marketing, which meant that websites' primary focus was to get traffic. But if you look at it from, hey, I run a retail store, it's more about, cool, I can't control how much traffic's coming in. You put me in, Westfield or whatnot, and all of a sudden I need to make sure the experience for every single customer is one-to-one or as good as possible. Someone walks out, being the store manager in the store, you can see that, you can feel that, like that stings. But when Rod mentioned before, that it's like the unseen shopper. This is what happens when you're looking at, Google Analytics or Adobe Analytics, and it's just numbers on a dashboard. A number goes up and it goes down without a conversion. Like you don't get that sting. So I think firstly, the fact that, people like Rod and people like Laura in the industry are even having these conversations, using these terms, having hybrid teams, using terms like unseen shopper, I think we are definitely on the way. So on that basis, I think what I'll go to say is, can it be? Yes, it definitely can. Is it now? Like not nowhere near. But I think the transition from that thought logic is really starting to happen. And I think it's even stuff like, businesses like Preezie coming out there, businesses like Hero. I think Klarna from memory bought Hero. And there are all these businesses that are really into, we all have different pitch. It could be product recommendations, it could be individualization, it could be bring in-store online. But the fact that all these businesses are coming out of the shadows and getting some spotlight, I think is just a sentiment to, this is where e-commerce is going and this is where the world is going. And people like Laura and Rod, I think, are just, first movers and early adopters in that transition.
Ali, could I also add that, when we build the websites, really looking at that intuitive website UX is really important. And one of the things that's fundamental to, everyone that has a website is their search and navigation functionality. And I think where we're seeing is there's a real evolution in that. You just have to have that really solid. But when your catalogue starts getting big and we start talking about endless aisle, we need more products that help you personalize or individualize. And that's where like the likes of personalization tools like Nosto would come into play. And Preezie, we're from an agency, we're working with Preezie on how do we actually ask the customer what they want rather than assume. So I think, we're in this beautiful place where before COVID, everyone knew they needed the search and merch functionality. Now these more tools around personalization and individualization are key because the digital function is becoming so integrated with the whole shopping experience. And then we've got the next thing, you know, which will be the data. What's going to happen with data is relevant as well. So I think, you know, just to echo what the boys have said, from all the agencies and the SI partners, this is really fundamental and something we're constantly trying to solve. And yeah, we really need the input from the in-store teams more than ever. So there's this even, you know, the digital agencies are actually even moving to need the input from in-store people that we've never done before. So there's new people coming around the table when we're doing these projects, which is really exciting.
Absolutely, the future is bright. So, and it's amazing to see what you guys are doing as well. So fantastic stuff. Now, Laura, you did the perfect segue. We are going to touch on data now and the importance of it. So the news that Google would be phasing out cookies in 2023 has obviously shaken the world for retailers, especially when it comes to the way that they capture data. So how can retailers best prepare for the death of the third-party cookie? Rod, I will start with you again.
Thanks, Ali. Look, I think if you're in this space, you're probably already starting to see some of the pain points come to life. And you know, I kind of think back to last year and third-party cookie and tracking, you know, starting to have increased controls on iOS, and everybody's probably starting to look at their social attribution slightly differently, and might have seen a few fluctuations last year. And so, you know, we've had these warning signs, clearly more changes on the way. First point here is don't ignore this one. Yeah, I think for me, and the way, you know, to approach this is firstly, make sure that your data infrastructure is right. You know, data can be one of your greatest assets, but only if, you know, you can ensure that it's quality data that you're collecting. The way you're storing that is, you know, compliant and also available for future use and to generate that value from. So, you know, question to everyone would be, when did you last get your data layer and your analytics audited? And certainly in prior roles and organizations, you know, just going through that exercise can highlight some great opportunities to improve the quality of your first party data collection and analytics and get it right. And also make sure that you're not overstating things like conversion. And I've seen some, you know, cases in other roles and organizations where conversion was being, you know, double counted. And it's a little bit sobering, but once you get that foundation right, then it's about understanding, well, what are you doing with that data, and how do you make sure that first party data is being collected and stored in a way that is going to support all the other use cases you want to build on. And then lastly, I'd say, I think you can then start to challenge what is first party data. And, you know, the traditional view is obviously that is, you know, name, address, and my personal details. But with the right, you know, loyalty strategy, personalization strategy, how do you start to work towards mutually beneficial value exchanges with your customers, where, you know, by gathering additional first party data, customer preferences, and Preezie is a great example where we're asking customers what are they looking for and what's their need. And then if you start to apply that in a way it benefits the customer, I think what you'll find is customers are comfortable sharing that information if they're seeing it's going to improve their experience. And then you can start to use that as an asset to personalize other touch points, be that online or ideally back in store.
Really good tips there. Thank you so much for that, Rod. Laura, I'm going to ask you the same question again. So how can retailers best prepare for the death of the third-party cookie?
Right. I'm going to start with saying it's complicated, and I don't know all the answers, but one thing, the conference called Shop Talk in Vegas, this was a massive theme, and it's different by country. So I think it's, you know, especially Australian retailers are, you know, are good at going global. So it's something that's going to affect, you know, all the countries that operate in. Europe is the strictest. So what I'm seeing is the uptake in tools like a CDP is becoming really important, I think, which is great, right? You're going to be able to pull all your data into one place and use it more effectively. I'm seeing that happen in Australia as well. But one thing I would say is to Rod's point, doing a wee bit of an audit on the data that you already have coming in from the different tools you've got coming in. Almost every tool collects data, and making sure you're doing it in the right way. And the other thing as well, which I feel like we're swings and roundabouts, we're swinging back a little bit to this real view that the retailers have to own their customer data, and it has to be legit, it has to be genuine and authentic, because the customers are really taking note of who's having a conversation with them that feels one-to-one and feels really personalised. So again, without tooting Michael's horn, but we're seeing that from the way you can use Preezie. You can start to profile people a lot deeper, and you can ask for their email address or give them a coupon code that makes sense. You've dated them first along the way. So I think personalization tools like Nosto or a Preezie are key to this. Retention is key here. Retention is always key. I think it's usually the 80-20 rule, but definitely retailers, and especially with inflation and things going to get difficult, you have to double down on the customers you have and leverage them and build better connection points with them. And one thing that I really liked hearing from Shop Talk is the concept of live commerce is going to become strong. And this can be like, the influencers, brand ambassadors starting to actually sell live on their channels, your products. And this starting to be what retailers do instead of some digital advertising. So we'll probably start to see agencies moving more into more content creation. I was hearing the guys at Culture Kings, they've actually always spoke about this. Their experience is, it's like theatre, it's an experience. They're opening a store in Las Vegas. They're going to have margaritas, and it will be, what else have they got? They've got like a music place where artists can go and record. So it seemed before COVID or years ago when I spoke to Simon and he told that it was lovely and I got it. But now you think about how smart that is, that he's making his stores become content creation hubs that the digital team can use in so many different ways. So I think it's like every retailer, like Rod will be working out his budget to spend, and he needs to come up with more creative ways and more immersive ways to bring the customer, to retain the customer. So I think, although it's a big challenge, I think it brings so many cool opportunities around the content piece. So that's going to be really exciting to watch.
Just a quick one. I wouldn't mind also mentioning here that what you said, Laura, about Culture Kings is really interesting, and even Rod mentioning something about like getting data through an exchange of value. So if you look at a lot of the like historical ways in which you get data, it's very hard to get quality data. You can, how many times have you done like, here's a win a prize, do a quiz, and it's like, okay, I'm just clicking buttons, C, and then you look at it, like 78% of people answered C, and you're like, they're all just going C, 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 C. So there's an element where in order for you to get, high quality data and data that is correct to the person, like it needs to be embedded within the natural process for them to go from, hey, I've got my pram broke. That's like the moment in which I need a new pram. So from that moment to buying, there is like an intent for them to actually need a pram. Therefore, you need to inject all these parts, all these technologies and all these micro moments that capture data within that experience. And that's what we found using us, like and we can mention it a little bit more, but I found one customer, because it wasn't like Laura mentioned with a lot of tech out there, has to assume, like, for example, say I'm sitting at home and my partner goes on and uses my machine or whatnot, all of a sudden they think I'm a 32-year-old woman looking for leggings or something. I come back on and, you know, it's obviously a different person. So there's an assumption there rather than understanding specifically that, hey, Michael, you know, he's X years old, he just had a child, he's got one other, whatever it may be, but it's true one-to-one data, and it has to be done in that experience. Otherwise, the data you capture is, to be honest, like I go on JB Hi-Fi and look at $20,000 TVs because I'm a startup founder and we dream, you know, way too much. I can't get a $20,000 TV, so all of a sudden, you know, the machine and the system is thinking that I'm legitimately like, you know, can get $20,000 TV and the $7,000 fridge. So I think it's just an element of getting that the right data, the one-to-one data at the right, and the only way you can do that is if it's done at the right time, you know, in that sequence of events from consideration to purchase.
Absolutely. Ooh, imagine a $7,000 fridge. That'd be nice, wouldn't it? So touching on data as well, I'd like again to ask Rod and Laura this question. So how can e-commerce and marketing best utilize customer data? Rod, I'm going to throw this one to you to start with.
Thanks, Ali. Look, I might be a bit controversial here. For me, you know, it's really about how does the whole organisation, you know, tap into your customer data, and you know, I think it can enrich, I think, every aspect of your business. You know, I think about our experience with Preezie, and you know, we spent a lot of time, you know, investing in how do we start to take some of the in-store, you know, discovery and selection process around ranges like prams and start to bring that into the digital context. And yeah, the first advantage of that is we started to be able to collect data and quantify at scale how customers are navigating that decisioning process. And all of a sudden, something that, you know, we had in store but was very qual-based is now quantified online, and it's become a really rich resource for us to refer to understand what are our customers looking for. It can be seasonal, and it absolutely changes by season. It can change by economic conditions, and you know, budgets certainly do change depending on external factors. But being able to feed that back, not just to our marketing and online teams, but feeding it back to our in-store teams so they can understand, you know, what online customers in their state, in their area are looking for, and how do we better offer that and support that in store, but also back to our merchandise teams as well, so we can start to inform our range strategies as well and make sure that we're actually meeting the needs of our customers who are now letting us know what they're after, and then being able to see that through from a, you know, online and in-store conversion perspective has been a really rich source. So, you know, my tips are, if you're not looking at your customer data every day and bringing it in to guide your key decisions, then go and talk to your teams and start really encouraging that behaviour, because there is something to be learned every single day. And something that all of your functions, you know, can take away and better the customer experience from.
Fantastic advice. Absolutely agree. I don't think it's controversial at all. So, Laura, I'm going to throw the same question over to you again. How can e-commerce and marketing best utilize customer data?
Yeah, I think Rod said it great. It's how do you leverage the data you collect across the entire business is super important. And as I said, one of the biggest challenge I see is unifying the customer data from stores and online with the loyalty, and doing that is a bit of a challenge. And one thing I'll say is that, you know, we're seeing that digital native brands are starting to move to physical retail as well, and what they've got as an advantage is, let's say they're using Shopify, they can start to use Shopify point of sale, and then everything is kind of seamlessly integrated. And I think, you know, that's a bit of a challenge for more traditional retailers who have the footprint and some, you know, tech in place that's there, and legacy tech and maybe major projects that need to happen. So I do think integrating the key technology is key, but then working out what data you need for the business. So we can get analysis paralysis there is an exercise on what is right for now and how do you move 1 or 2 steps ahead, not 10 steps ahead. So I like to be really pragmatic. So one of my friends over at Klaviyo, when I was speaking to them, they're like big on life cycle marketing, and they're big on that 80-20 rule. You know, it's all about the 80% of sales will come from 20% of customers, really double down and focus, and progressively profiling the customer. So like to Michael's point, you know, we are in this funny space where sometimes personalization doesn't go right, and it will get better and better, but you know, making sure you know who you're talking to and what they want is an expectation now. So we're looking at ways to further enhance how they're leveraging data, and what is the start point, what's step 2. Don't overwhelm businesses with, you know, major projects. And yeah, and I love the fact that these digital native brands are, you know, stepping the game up as well, and yeah, like being able to use the data to inform where their stores go and how they use it. One thing as well I'm seeing, it's really cool. I think traditional retailers have almost been a bit scared on, if we don't have it, don't talk about it. But there's a lot more open-mindedness, like especially actually we've been forced into a position where, due to inventory issues and, you know, with supply chain, I think this idea of the endless aisle and augmented reality, and, you know, using QR codes and finding out what other colours are in, and then looking at that fulfillment data is such a cool piece of information that opens up. And like for Rod's team, for example, if they knew that a certain pram would be bought in hot pink, maybe that's a new thing that they would never do. So yeah, I think using data not just to inform what people didn't do on the site, but what they want to do in the future is exciting.
Yeah, I mean, I'll quickly step in there as well, and to say, yeah, 100%. Like we have categorically seen certain retailers, and there's one they sell scooters, and it was really interesting because I said to them, why don't you sell off-road scooters? And he categorically said, like, I don't think anyone wants off-road scooters. So what we did is we basically just plugged it into the journeys, the Preezie journeys. You know, what are you looking for? Off-road, on-road. Then they ended up finding out that like 15% of their audience wanted off-road scooters. So it was really interesting. So then he took that information and found companies that sold off-road scooters and started offering it, because 15% is a good chunk. And then, you know, even another one of our customers, I think, you know, going a bit deeper into the how do you use data, I think obviously you need the right data, and like Laura like really nicely put, like you need to know like what you don't know. So like, you know, if you know we go, oh, I'm looking for a pram, what color? And 20% of the people did say, you know, baby blue, for example. You're like, okay, wow, I would never have thought that. That needs to go to buying. That needs to go to, you know, inventory, whatever it may be. And then, you know, we work with one customer, and we found out that like you need data that is like relatively, doesn't have to be perfect, but it needs to be relatively like consistent. And when I say that, like for example, with Preezie, you can have different Q&A, and then if you're always changing the wording and the language, just going down to like implementation, we now have an API with Klaviyo, yeah. So you can get Preezie data, you can send it to Klaviyo with a click, but in Klaviyo, you can then go, all right, cool, I want to send a cadence or you know, a sequence of events that goes, cool, anybody that did a Preezie journey for prams in, you know, hot pink or baby blue, send them like these emails. But obviously hot pink and baby blue, they need to be relatively consistent. So you can get a lot of data, but if it's just, it doesn't need to be perfectly structured. It can be unstructured, but it needs to have some form of consistency. So, and the programs you need to be able to handle that. So like even for us, we often get customers that just give us product descriptions, But we can take those product descriptions, look for certain keywords, and then build rules, which therefore means that now those rules associate to questions and answers. And now you as a business can get those questions and answers in a much more structured format back into Klaviyo, into Salesforce, into Einstein. So I think a lot of it is like not getting what you don't know, but a big chunk of this comes back down to like either having structured data or very close to clean data and consistent, or having the tools that can like easily navigate that stuff through a bunch of like fuzzy logical rules and whatnot.
Absolutely. Guys, we are actually running out of time, so I wanted to thank all of you for your beautiful answers and fantastic contributions here. We have a bunch of questions from the audience that I would love to share with you guys. So first, I'm going to throw this one over to Michael. What type of insights and data does Preezie collect?
Yeah, so timely off the back of that last one, the reality is it's whatever you like. Ultimately, you know, it's like saying to your local store manager, hey, we want to capture all this information from a bunch of our customers that walk into store. The logical step is just ask, record, you know, build it into an iPad, ask, record. So in the same you know, essence, it's the same thing. You can ask any question, anything you want. It can be asked. So, you know, if you look at any journeys, we've got, you know, I think it's about 1,000 journeys and probably have over 10,000 questions and answers, or 10,000 questions and probably 50,000 answers. And it can be whatever. It can be colors, it can be sizes. Like even something we do really cool, you know, for curvy bras is it goes through a process and it starts to say, cool, what is your normal strap size and cup size? And then it then figures out, cool, is it too large? Is it this? How does it fit? How does it feel? And then recalculates. It uses all the logic and it recalculates. So for curvy, for example, they would know what they thought they were. They would know how that fit. And then they would know, well, this is actually like the true size. And then with that comes in all the application data. So all of a sudden, you can just like, you can learn so much about people, and you can even then go and take it one step further to go, cool, they spend X time on these questions. So for example, if you ask, like, let's go, I go on Kirby and I'm looking for something for my partner, and all of a sudden you go, cool, what size is it? If that person or that user, shopper, spends 20 seconds or 30 seconds on answering a question that is like what size related, you can easily then go, cool, that's either like a partner or it's a gift because they maybe needed to think about it, they needed to walk in a room and check, or that it's the actual person buying it, but they're extremely considered. So now from answering one question and just looking at the time spent on that question, I'm literally a 50-50. Is it a gift or the person buying it is super considered, so they're less likely to really fall for coupons and discounts, and they want more individualized experiences. So the truth is you can capture any data you want. You can capture a lot of like behind the scenes data, like things like values and personalities, and understand all that. But ultimately it's just limited by imagination, whatever you want.
Amazing. That's incredible. Wow. So where do I start if I wanted to start implementing first-party data strategy? Who would like to answer this question? Does anyone have a burning answer that they want to share?
I'm going to vote Rod.
Thanks. I thought you would, Mark. Look, Ellie, I think it's really a matter of first things first. Is you're probably already collecting first-party data, yeah, and make sure that you've got eyes wide open and you've wrapped your arms around what are you collecting, how are you collecting it, is the quality right, is it compliant, and where is it going? And that really forms, you know, the foundation of your strategy. Is what are you doing today? I think the next step is then start to map out a path, and don't start with what other data can we collect, but start with what are the use cases and the experiences you want to bring to life, and what data is required to enable those. And that's where you can start from day one with this view of what is this value exchange, and then start to map out, your first party data of how does it start to grow over time. And as Laura mentioned, over time, then you'll need to start to look at, extended tools to begin to collect and manage and aggregate that so that you can activate that at scale.
Fantastic. Michael, I have another one for you. How do I get started with Preezie?
So, okay, best way is to give us a call and we'll set up a time to chat. But in order to going past that, it all comes down to initially what we do is we just work with you to understand like what do you want to do, like, because ultimately Preezie can help with lots of different things. It can capture data, which is what a lot of this conversation was about, but it can drive revenue through conversions and increase AOV. Some customers, like Lorna Jane, often use it to stop inquiries because they get a lot of sizing based inquiries, like what leggings should I buy, what sports bra size should I buy, and then others just use it for just general customer experience and literally capturing market insights. So we'll work with you on that, and then from there it's just about picking a couple categories, building a journey, getting your data, and then copying and pasting it onto the website. So we built a system that is designed to be scalable, but to get started, the first point of call is to just reach out to myself or David New, our sales director, and then we can guide you through the process.
Fantastic. And there are contact details on the final slide as well if anybody is interested in getting in contact with Michael and the Preezie team. So keep an eye out for that. I have a question for Rod. With the rise of businesses having to transition online and the entry level of starting an online store or marketplace being quite low, how is Baby Bunting using their site search solution to improve on their customer experience and stand out from the competition? It's quite a big one there.
Yeah, there's a loaded question there, so I'll cover off what I can, Ellie. Look, to go kind of back a little bit on the journey we've been on is, over the last 12 months, we've had to go through a process of re-platforming and making sure that we had the right technology foundation on which to grow and scale our online channel and experiences. So, a key part of that was realizing that, from us having the right search and merchandise platform in place, it was really important that we shifted to a foundation that would allow us to grow, but allow us to grow at scale. And key to that was prioritizing in our decision-making process, shifting to a platform that was built with AI and machine learning at its core, because what was becoming apparent is we couldn't just throw people at the problem, and continuing to build manual search indexes and manual search and merchandising rules for us was certainly not going to be scalable. And it then speaks to, if you're heading down that highly manual approach, what you're not going to be able to do is begin to personalize that experience down to each shopper. You're still going to build these rules that become cumbersome to maintain. So we've shifted to a new search platform in January, and we're now a couple of months in, and what we're seeing is the intelligence that we're building in that is getting applied with every search request. And what we're doing is beginning to tailor that for relevance, but also the attractiveness of those search results. And there's a couple of dimensions that then feeds for us. Particularly for our customer base coming in and exploring the range, it can be just as overwhelming online finding what you need when you're not really sure what you need. And so we've started activating across site recommendations, product recommendations based on a number of different algorithms on how we're going to surface those recommendations for, and it might be products that work well together, or what do customers also buy if they have those products in their cart and convert. And so we're letting those run, and just letting those run naturally without us building in manual rule sets. We've already seen a significant conversion increase just from those recommendations. And so now we're looking at how do we begin to scale those out and make sure that those recommendations are surfacing across other touch points. And what's the opportunity to bring that to life in store? Because you think in that store context for us, having the Baby Bunting website and having our search engine in your pocket can be a great way to begin to track down what do I need next? Where do I find this product? And starting to access that and that product information wherever you are in store and obviously out of store as well. So look, we're certainly on a journey as it relates to search and merch, and there is no shortage of things that we'll do. But what we know is we are building this really strong engine based on real insights, and we're already personalizing that journey for every single shopper that's coming on site. And it's just going to get better and better.
Fantastic. And just conscious of time, I do have one question that I'd like to ask all of you. What does the future of online CX look like? So who would like to field that question first? All right, I'm just going to throw it over to Michael and we'll work our way down. Michael, what does the future of online CX look like?
I mean, obviously being a founder of a business, I feel like I'm working towards the future. So I think a lot of it's going to be about guided experiences. I think a lot of it's going to be about just the experience you get in store, whether you speak to someone or not, but in specific when you speak to someone, because obviously in store you can't, if you have 1,000 people in the store, yeah, you can't have 1,000 sales assistants. You know, that's just not realistic. But if you could, you know, do your best to, and Rob mentioned before, not replicate, but replicate the moment, the feeling in which I get some form of satisfaction of help, then that can be replicated through tech. So I think future of CX is going to be a world in which online and digital is really like a unique, like for example, you go to Baby Bunting, use Preezie, it knows who you are, it sends it to your email, it lets you know, hey, here it is at the local store. You walk into the local store, it pops up with a little map to go, here is that product that we recommended. You get to the product, it pops up and says, this is all the information, this is what it does, and like, check out here, cool, go pick it up at the back, or we'll have it to your house in 2 hours time. Like there'll be a complete, like just almost morph of the two worlds. And I think a lot of that will be powered by hopefully things like us and just, you know, structured data and guided experiences.
Fantastic. And Laura, what about you? What does the future of online CX look like?
Well, from the agency perspective, we're definitely focused on best in breed technology to help with this. So the best in, you know, search and merch, we know that recommendation is really key here, personalization as well. But I think there's two folds to this. I think we're going to see customers, retailers owning their data and really knowing the customer. Owning the customer is critical. At the same time, the social commerce space is really growing. I think it's going to be a $1 billion market, you know, by 2025 as a stat seen. So I think it's being where your customers at, these immersive experiences, and yeah, I think the content piece, creating mini content hubs, and it's no longer you pay a photographer 50 grand and a model, you know, it's, you know, let's use the Culture Kings way as being using the stores and keeping it real is something I see of the experience. So yeah, best in breed tech, you know, simplified, you know, intuitive navigation, whatever channel they come from, is how we build our digital commerce solutions.
Wonderful. Yeah, I completely agree with the content side as well. It's an exciting time and I can't wait to see what happens. And finally, Rod, last question for you as well. So what does the future of online CX look like to you and maybe into the Baby Bunting team?
Yeah, thanks, Ali. So look, I'd echo what Michael and Laura have already said, and you know, this kind of recurring theme of it's going to be seamless and it's going to be personalized to every shopper. I think, you know, as I've already kind of alluded, you know, we believe there's a strong opportunity that the online customer experience can really play a role in store and take the in-store experience to the next level and start to unlock, you know, whether, as Laura said, it's the endless aisle opportunities, it's new products and services, but also it's about personalizing the experience in a way that the existing person-to-person connection in store hasn't been able to do today. So I think that's a really exciting opportunity. I think the second piece for me is it's about differentiation. you know, great question earlier that there are lower barriers to coming online. But if everybody has the same product with the same photo at a same or comparable price, there's going to be an opportunity to start to differentiate that offer and experience. And if you can do that in a way that is personalized and takes it to the next level, I think that's going to build, you know, this fantastic emotional connection and loyalty and support, you know, long-term success for, you know, both the customer having a great experience, but also for retailers building, you know, long and enduring relationships with their customers.
Absolutely. Well, guys, we are officially out of time. I wanted to thank all of our speakers for taking the time out to chat with us today. And thank you again to our lovely audience who sent through questions. We got an absolute boatload of them, so we didn't get to answer all of them. But if you do have any questions for our speakers today, we will be sending out the email addresses and contact details below to everybody. And you can also get in contact with Michael and the Preezie team here. I wanted to thank you all again for joining us today, and I can't wait to see you guys at the next webinar. So thank you very much. Have a great Thursday.
Yo.
Bye, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.